Hello, everybody. This is Mike Vargas. I am presenting for Dr. Zimmerman's class, EDCI 6330. And today I am presenting on my project, which is understanding the makeup of the Arizona STEM Acceleration Project Fellows, ASAP 2022. So I am not using the TALIS data set. I'm actually using my actual data that I've collected. So I am double dipping and actually using data we collected for research to hopefully help us understand a little bit of our population a little bit better than we had before. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a historical perspective here. I come from Arizona. Arizona is one of the worst states in America for STEM education. And I am working with a team that is looking at the factors that keep teachers in the profession longer. And we are doing that through this ASAP project, which is currently one of the largest STEM grants ever in our state, with the focus of accelerating STEM across Arizona in the K-12 arena, which we've been pretty excited about because this has never happened before. So the purpose of our study is to understand trends in teaching experiences for STEM teachers. Specifically, we're going to look at a linear regression model, which we developed to help predict the numbers of years of experience of given STEM teachers, with the goal of using these elements to improve teacher retention and encourage additional years of experience, which will hopefully thus result in better teachers. Our funding is coming from what's called the ESSER funds, basically COVID relief money. And our goal is to basically bolster the Arizona STEM education ecosystem by providing teachers with time, funding, professional development opportunities, and as much love and support as we can possibly give folks to basically help build up their communities is what we're doing. So the idea here is that we're not creating something new. We're not building anything that wasn't already there before. Our job is to come in and act as an accelerator and accelerate programs and activities that are already there and basically try to build them to capacity, especially organizations that have been suffering from COVID-19 in the last 2 years of the pandemic. So the way our particular project works is we are paying teachers across the state a very nice stipend to do three things. They're doing 30 hours of professional development, they're creating a project with their students, and they are helping us with research and basically helping us identify where all the leaks are in the leaky STEM pipeline, so to speak. But one of the other things we are looking at, we're looking at it from the teacher retention component, because we're trying to figure out what are the things that are adversely affecting teachers and making them leave the profession. So we are looking at it through a lens of, how can we create these better student outcomes through teachers? Previous research in the field has identified a large number of factors. We've seen some of these things in class the last couple months. But one particular piece of research is the Kaufman-Albaitan 2011, which basically is a survey of, a set of questions on why are teachers leaving the field and what can we do to fix that. And so the framework we're also looking at is using this Carl Chapman's conceptual framework of teacher retention. And he outlines three main things here: individual teacher characteristics, organizational factors, environmental influences. And we're kind of looking at some of this research and we're trying to ask, okay, looking at it through this lens with STEM teachers, where are the leverage points? Where are the places that we can make a difference, and what are the factors that are keeping teachers in the classroom versus them leaving and not being there. So what we've done is we've created this model, our conceptual framework of basically what are, we're looking at years of teaching experience as our dependent variable, and we're bouncing it off these three factors of data that we've collected. So we have created a very large data set with probably like 30, 40 questions on it that teachers answered when they applied to become an ASAP fellow. And, and so we're only going to play with three here, which are geography, strength of network, and the school type. Now, what makes this particular presentation a little bit different is we had to scrub these because I wasn't able to use the variables in their raw form. So I had to create dummy variables, which is what I did to do my linear regression. So fundamentally, the research question is, primary research question is in the sense to identify what factors impact how long a teacher will stay in the profession, including considering the strength of a teacher's support network, the type of school they teach at, and where the school is located. We are looking at these factors with the goal of improving retention and identifying what types of schools attract and keep the most experienced educators. So kind of a lofty goal here, but we thought that with some of this data, it would be interesting to find out, is there a relationship here with some of this stuff? And so we looked at these kind of three main ideas here, and we're also trying to tie in this thing called teacher support networks, because I think that there's not a lot of research on support networks. And so one of the things that we're interested in looking at is like, if we create a project like this one, how do we actually build that support network? And so we're using years of experience as our variable to bounce these different factors off of, so that we can see if there's anything significant there. Future research. This particular project has an opportunity that's unparalleled in my state because we're going to be collecting an enormous amount of data on probably about at least 1,000 teachers at the end of the day when this project's all done. And we're hoping to ask enough questions that we can actually do some of the stats that we're doing here in class and see if there's any correlations or significant numbers, and be able to make some determinations of it. But for the purposes of this class assignment, we're just going to do the three. One thing that I was asked to do was to kind of explain how we're grading STEM networks, and we're doing it on a Likert scale of 1 to 10. And we've asked teachers to grade their STEM network on a scale of 1 to 10. And we've had some interesting results with that. The average that we got back was 5.1 for all geographic regions, urban, rural, or suburban, which we thought was really interesting because it's not great, but it's not awesome either. And so, we're middle of the road there, which hopefully when we do our next test, we'll be able to see, did that number go up, and we'll get that data back in August. So the methods for this study is to create a linear regression model. We're going to look at ASAP data. And we're looking at the relationship between the geography of the fellows, the types of schools they teach in, and the strength of the educator network. The data set was prepared using a Google form. So we had approximately 600 or so fellows answer about 25 questions. And that's the data that we've collected. And we do have an IRB approved for doing this work. So I am legal eagle. So taking the data, we had to scrub it and we had to code it. And this is rendition number 4. And I'm hoping Mr. Zimmerman can help me later in the week on this, because I feel like I did it okay, but I'm not sure. And so we have experience, we have this geo number, we have we have a charter, private, public, strength of educator network, and DV is basically this is our dummy variables. So DVs are dummy variables because we could not use the type of variable that was in there, so we had to give it a number to make all the numbers work, to make all the data work. So methods continued. We use dummy variables. We use suburban schools and public schools as our benchmarks, as our reference groups. And we made this adjustment to account for our variables being categorical, since, again, you can't do calculations on just the words. So what we came up with was interesting. STEM networks have, STEM network is a significant predictor of years of experience, 0.047 up here in the top. Teachers from urban school districts are a significant predictor of experience relative to suburban schools. And for every additional person in the STEM teachers network, the model predicts 0.242 years of increase of experience, which we thought was kind of interesting. And when a teacher works in an urban school district, the model predicts the years of experience will decrease by 1.465 years relative to a teacher in a suburban district, which we also thought was kind of interesting. So interesting stats here. These are my correlations. Correlations came back with also some interesting stuff. We basically figured out that, teachers at a charter school have generally 1.192 fewer years of experience, while those at private schools have generally 1.096 more years of experience, both as compared to the public school reference. Geographic location of the school is also included with the suburban as the reference group. Those in a rural setting generally have 0.728 fewer years of experience, and those in urban rural settings generally have 1.465 fewer years of experience. And then finally, the strength of the STEM educator network is reported on the Likert scale of 1 through 10 was included. And for each unit increase in the rating of the network, it was associated with a 0.242 year increase in experience. So overall, working at a private school and having a strong STEM educator network were associated with more years of experience. So here's our model summary and our ANOVA. Our R2 is 0.019. Which basically says that 1.9% of the variation, and the R2 explains only 1.9% of the variation in years of experience. We did a scatter plot, did a histogram, so kind of give you a little bit of a visual on some of the stuff that we came back with. I definitely need to work on this a little bit more, but I thought this was interesting. And the implications of the study are, the study indicates that geography again has a slight impact, and those who teach at charter schools have on average a less teaching experience than other types of schools. The model also indicates that STEM teacher network strength has predictive power on teacher retention, and those who rate their teacher network more highly are also more likely to have more years of teaching experience. So, so some really interesting kind of stats. These weren't really strong indicators, I thought. Like they correlated, they were there, but they weren't like, there was no smoking gun to anything here, so to speak. But it was definitely interesting taking a look at what we were able to generate with the data that we have here. And again, here's my references, and I'll gladly answer any questions in the thread that you might have about the Arizona STEM Acceleration Project. So thank you very much for watching this video.